The latest iteration of the Microsoft desktop operating system, Windows 11, is bad by design. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. And this is something that kind of like, it slowly hit me as I was using Linux more and more. Like Microsoft, a lot of their decisions are made for a specific reason. And that's the way it is with Windows. So I've got 3 reasons why, Microsoft Windows 11 sucks by design. And we're going to cover those. But first off, let's activate your copy of Windows. I use Whokeys, and I like to grab those OEM keys because the price of a Windows retail key is ridiculous. You could buy many of these keys for the price of one of those. So what's the difference? Well, an OEM key is generally tied to the hardware. Sometimes it moves, but generally just consider it to be tied to your motherboard. Other than that, you don't get the professional tech support from Microsoft. But I just use forums anyway. I've never actually used Microsoft tech support, so that's really the only difference. So to me, it makes a lot more sense to grab an OEM key when I'm activating Windows. Now, you can get Windows 11 Pro, you can get Windows 10 Pro, and one thing to note is Windows 10 Pro keys will unlock Windows 11 at this point. You might want to Google that if it's a year in the future just to make sure. We've also got the Home editions, and if you're on Windows 11 Home or Windows 10 Home, you can grab one of these Pro keys and then use it, and it will unlock Pros. And then we have our different versions of Microsoft Office, like 2019, 2016. You can grab the version that you like so that you can get your work done. So I'm going to go ahead and get a copy of Windows 11 Pro. So I'm going to click on Buy Now, and I'll put it in my cart. We can put in our coupon code. Use TS25, and you'll save 25%, so even more than the promotions on the website. That'll bring that price down right there. Once you're finished placing your order, it brings you here. And then you can just click on View Keys and Codes. If you do not go directly here, go up to the top, click on your email address, click on User Center, and then in the middle of the page, it'll tell you you have an unextracted key. Extract now, yes. It'll bring you here. But if not, just click on My Purchase Orders and then View Keys and Codes. It says completed, and then right here we can do Get the Key. And right there in the middle of the page, that's your key. So go ahead and copy that, click on Start, type Activate, and it's going to give you all kinds of garbage, but just wait for it to say Activation Settings. Click on that. Once you get here, just click to change your product key. And wait, by activating Windows, you get the best experience. Yes, yes, yes. Click on Activate, and hey, we're activated. So I would much rather grab a key from Whokeys.com than that really expensive key. And I also don't like the way that Microsoft changes the prices based upon the region, and they give a huge discount to corporations and OEMs. So I think that we should get the same price as everybody, right? That's only fair. So that's why I like the OEM keys. Head over to Whokeys.com, TS25, and say thanks to them for the deal on Windows. We're going to start off with the really mild stuff, and then we'll get, more and more intense as we go. First off, Windows is made for everyone. So, things kind of get watered down. They're like a rock band that sold out because they want more people to buy tickets. So now being made for everybody means that you have to kind of cater to the lowest common denominator. Now let's take a look. I've got my system over here. I've already modified the taskbar, the start menu. This is open shell, and the bottom as well is open shell. But this is actually how I really use my computer. I use it like this. And whenever I, have, like if I put something over here, notice how that showed up right there and all my icons are right here. This is the old school quick launch. I'm using the old school quick launch thanks to I guess it's a pretty much taskbar replacement, and that's called RetroBar. I made a video on that. I'll link it below. If you want to see it, you can check it out there. But they can't just give this to people, these options, because people will break things. This is what people need, right? They just need everything in one spot. And even if they don't need it, well, this is more difficult to break. So now we got to click on this. We got this stupid little widget thing. It's very safe and all that. Let's say we want to do some options or whatever. Like, okay, fine. We got our Wi-Fi option. We got our options. Clicked on the cog. Now we got options. They want me to sign in. No. Network and internet, Wi-Fi connections. So they're moving everything to these modern style menus. And a lot of the features are here, and it does work to a certain extent. Like if I want to change stuff, I can come over here and do that. A lot of things are still hidden. So this is how it used to be. These old school menus, they're still here. We have 2 different interfaces. They're trying to hide this interface so that the regular users are not going to come here and, look at this and be like, oh, I've broken something. But if we come in here now, I've got these properties and I can configure this. Like you can't configure all this stuff right there in that new modern interface. So they're trying to hide all this from people. And I guess with good reason, because they don't want to deal with people that break things. They want people to come over here and just, they pick your audio device and go. They don't want people to install something like this. This is Ear Trumpet. They don't want people to install this. They want people to just leave it alone. And then check this out. Windows Legacy right here. I can just bring up my volume mixer. There it is. Or if I want to go to my Windows Legacy settings, and I can go straight to my playback devices and have this menu, which I still think is a little ugly, in this day and age, but more functional compared to what we have with the current operating system. But the problem is that all that stuff is obfuscated. So it's difficult for power users like us to get to that. We have to go through another hoop. We can't just go straight there anymore. So I've created different shortcuts and everything, and I've installed things to make it easier for me to get to the places that I want to go. But they kind of want just one flavor for everybody. And at the end of the video, I'll talk about why I think that's a bad idea, but that's what they've done. They've kind of created everything just so that people can just sit down and use the computer and not have to actually know about anything. They just I've got this thing, email, whatever. I'll put it this way. When I first moved into this place, sorry if I've told this story before, but you're going to hear it again. When I first moved into this place, a couple days later, the building manager saw me and he's like, "Oh, do you have your Wi-Fi working?" And I was like, "My Wi-Fi?" He was saying Wi-Fi, meaning your internet. And I was like, and finally we figured it out. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I was able to call the company. The guy's going to be here tomorrow to hook up my internet." He's like, "Oh, great. You're going to have your Wi-Fi up and running." And I was like, oh, regular people, they just call internet the Wi-Fi now. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, you'll be able to get on the Wi-Fi." Were you able to get on the Wi-Fi? That's what the internet is to them. They just click and they're on the Wi-Fi and they do the Netflix or the Spotify or the email, and then that's it. Before I go on, I want to compare and contrast that with Linux. Linux is intimidating to a lot of people because there are too many options, and it's very easy to break things. So it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody by design. You can really go in and customize every little thing. I use Plasma 6. I'm using Fedora on my Linux computer, and I love it. It's so nice. You can go in and configure everything, but if you click on too many things, all of a sudden you've just destroyed your taskbar. It's a mess. You're like, you start over from scratch. It just got shaken. I don't know what's going on anymore. So that's what they want to, keep people from doing. If people had that much power on Windows and they could just go in and just change everything or install different desktop environments, they would do it, and then they would be like, "Oh no, my computer's broken," and it would just be a mess. Maybe they should work together with a tech support team to make a lot of money from extorting people by making the operating system too easy to break. Just an idea, Microsoft. They get enough money already. The next reason why Windows sucks by design, and that's just how Microsoft makes their money. This is a modern technology company. They are no longer a company who relies on the Windows operating system. So take a look at this breakdown from Q3 2024. You can see that this is all corporate stuff, servers, infrastructure, right there. The Azure platform, I think Exchange is probably in there as well, all the different servers. And then we have the Office users. Take a look at that. Office is now a bigger source of income than their entire operating system. So the Office suite is huge. And then you can see everything else right there. So this piece right here, this could be bigger, but they don't care. The point is that they want you on Windows so that they can make money through Office and through this. They can make money through Office if you're on Mac, but a lot of people in Office environments are going to be using Windows because you cannot get Office, you can't get it working really well on Linux. So this is a huge deal right here. The services, and then search, news, and ads is, it's not like 8.7 billion versus 18 billion. It's not huge, but I think it's going to start getting bigger because they want to be able to have the one platform right here, Windows, and then they want to allow you to connect to all these other things, and then they want to make you part of the product. So let's talk about something really quick that's kind of an elephant in the room. Why is Windows not making more money if it's on every computer? Well, number one, when you do the OEM stuff, it's relatively inexpensive, very inexpensive. And when they sell it in volume licenses for OEMs and stuff, that's really cheap. And they just give them away to their developers and stuff. They give away so many Microsoft keys. So that's one of the reasons why it's so cheap to buy the OEM keys, is just there's an abundance of them. And then Microsoft doesn't really crack down on people who hack Windows or crack it or whatever. We're not going to get into that because I don't need to get demonetized right now, and I don't need YouTube. They won't even demonetize me. They'll give me a full-on strike, but they don't crack down on people who, run activation scripts and stuff like that. They don't crack down on that at all, and they absolutely could. And if you ask me, I think that they would rather have you using Windows, whether it's cracked or they have an OEM key or whatever. They'd rather have you using Windows than not using Windows, so then they can sell you Office and get you set up with, if you need some corporate stuff, well, we got Azure right here. Well, you know what? Let's install this Xbox stuff. Do you use LinkedIn? Okay, we got that. You know what? start menu, let's put some ads in there for you. And by the way, AI. Oh, you need to sign in. You better be signed in. So that's the other thing, is they want you to sign in so that way they can create a profile for you and just have that span across all these different services that they own. And then you'll have your digital footprint with Microsoft that goes everywhere with you whenever you're looking at all this stuff. And they can make sure that they always offer you the things that you want the most. So the bottom line here is that Microsoft's goal is to make money. That's what they want to do. And they'll do it any way they can. And they want to make money without, the frustrations. So the easiest way they found to do that is to prioritize all these different services that you're going to be using with Windows. Well, how does that lead to the Windows 11 being bad by design? You may be asking after all this long rant about how Microsoft makes their money. Well, that's a totally different approach than what the open source community takes. And that's why there's so many different projects when it comes to Linux. There are so many different distributions because each one has their own goals, and they're generally not driven by how are we going to make money with this? They're driven by what do we want? And that's not something that Microsoft sits down and asks, what do we want to do? They sit down and say, what can we do to extract the most amount of value from each person who uses this device? They have to kind of have a happy medium because they still are providing a service to customers who, if they don't like it, they're going to start going elsewhere, like a lot of people have been doing now that Microsoft's getting more ads and all this AI nonsense built into their, operating system. People are starting to leave, and rightly so. The point is that if you're focused on money above all else and everything must serve, money, then your priorities are going to be in a different spot. And you're not really going to care so much about the niche users who want very specific things. And therefore, it's just easy to have everything be one certain way. We don't need to have lots of different, graphical user interfaces. We don't need to have window managers. We don't need to have different ways to do things. We don't need to have different ideas. We don't need to have, different distros. We don't need any of that stuff. They just need the one thing. So again, that's another big difference with how the philosophy behind open source stuff and the for-profit stuff, they kind of dictate the direction. All right, let's talk about the Microsoft Store. I think we're going to see a push toward Microsoft Store more in the future, and that's further going to simplify things. But, Microsoft watched a lot of other companies and some of their previous employees like Gabe Newell. Gabe Newell left, and in 2003, after making Half-Life, when Half-Life 2 was coming out, they introduced Steam. And this came out with, I think, a full-on orange box, I think. Not 100% sure, but they released Steam. Now, Steam was a platform where you could go online and buy all your games. It still is. Of course, you know what Steam is, right? And at first, we kicked and screamed. Do you all remember being like, what is this? Now I gotta go to a thing to install a thing? Before, I would just get my CD-ROM, pop it in, install it. It would install to the hard drive. No Steam, nothing else installed. Then I would open it up and be like, what's the serial number? Where's the serial number? Oh, there it is. I would put the serial number in and then play it. Nobody's getting a cut. When you buy this, I guess the retail store you bought it from gets a cut. But, Microsoft wasn't getting a cut of that. Microsoft didn't get anything for that. But now, the Microsoft Store, well, they only take a 12% cut from the game developers. And there are games on there now. There's plenty of games on there. There's movies. There's everything. You want something, you can probably find it on there. A lot of free applications as well. I think Microsoft's going to start moving to support ARM more. And they're really going to start pushing the store a little bit more because they make money on everything that happens on the store. They don't make money if you just install a CD like I was just talking about. They don't make money on that. So I think they kind of want to go down that road and simplify things and kind of push you to that. The Microsoft Store, it might not end up being that bad of a thing if a lot of the stuff on there is free and you can just install a lot of your free programs. But I think it's a little bit too late because Steam came out in 2003. I think the Microsoft Store came out in 2011 on Windows 8. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah, I think they really want people to go in that direction. At least at the moment, there's not many exclusive Windows Store only games and stuff. So hopefully that won't be a thing in the future. But yeah. So I didn't really touch on Copilot much in this video. I didn't really touch on Game Pass much in this video, but I think we could see that expand as well, unfortunately. It's just going to get worse and bigger. How do they do that? So I'm not going to cover those too much in this video. We might make separate videos just talking about that, but I'm still kind of waiting to see what goes on with Copilot and all the nonsense that's happening with AI, which, in my opinion, is one of the biggest bubbles, probably bigger than the .com bubble, because, it's not really as good as they said it was. And the funny thing is that the only company, or the only companies, I should say, who are going to come out on top of this are the companies selling the shovels, and that's NVIDIA. They're like, all the NVIDIA videos lately are Jensen Huang being like, AI is the best thing ever. I don't know how anybody could live without it. I wake up in the morning and make love to my AI. Then I have an AI sandwich. And then I get with my developers and they all say what the AI told them to say. And we have a great day. By the way, here is a giant server filled with graphics cards so that you can do AI too. Jensen Huang's a hype man selling shovels to dig for AI. Anyway, that's just an aside, a tangent. So I, gave this video a sensational title. We talked about all kinds of stuff. A lot of this was just kind of impromptu, but I did this hoping that somebody from Microsoft would watch. Hope you enjoy those OEM keys that I'm doing sponsored spots for. A Microsoft person. Listen, Microsoft, I think you can have all your cake and eat it too, but also take care of the power users by doing just a few different things. Now, right now, there's a few different versions of Windows. You got your Home and Pro, and then you got Enterprise, and then there's like the server stuff. But really, as far as like how they function on a surface level, it's all very similar. They just have, you get one and it's got nachos, and the next one has cheese, and the next one has cheese and jalapenos. But really, on the surface, it's still the same. You're still going to the same interfaces and stuff. I think with one thing that you could do that would be a little better is, if you got Home, then that's just going to be the safe interface. And that's the stuff that you give to your grandma. That's the stuff that you give to people who walk around and say, did you get on the Wi-Fi? Okay, you get Windows 11 Home. There you go. You're fine. You don't even know what remote desktop is, so you're not going to need to enable it. You're fine. Okay, great. Now, people on Pro, maybe loosen up a little bit and say, okay, you're on Pro. You got some options you can toggle. Do you want the old interface? We'll just turn off the modern stuff, give you that if that's what you want. It's really, we solved interfaces back with Windows 2000, Windows XP. The desktop environment's solved. We fixed that problem. There's probably some new ideas here and there, but once we got Quick Launch, that's what I'm still on. I keep going back to it because it functions better than the modern stuff, from a day-to-day power user basis. Give us some options. Let us hack it. If you don't want to do the work yourself, maybe let the Power Toys team do it. They seem like pretty cool people. Power Toys should come pre-installed on Professional. It's so useful. It extends the functionality of Windows. And, let us break things or mess things up, but people who are using Professional, they should have that ability. Like, let us mess with stuff. And maybe make the shell open source. That way, people who are developing shell extensions, or if they want to make an alternative, version of the system tray or something, it'll be much easier to do it if we're not just relying on an API or something that someone put together. It'd be much easier if that was open source. You don't have to leave the registry alone. Nobody needs to touch that. That can stay secure. The kernel could stay secure. But the shell, come on. Let us have it. Let's just get our grimy nerd paws on that. So yeah, that's my proposal. I'm not sure if it'll ever happen, but there's a lot of people using Windows who are not signed in, who don't use a lot of the store stuff. And I know they're not like the most valuable users, but maybe they're the enterprise grade users who are actually using Azure, or actually using some of your server stuff. And they're also the evangelists who fix people's computers, who recommend things to people. And, let's face it, a lot of people who are recommending stuff are just going to put people on something basic, lock it down, be like, this is Home. There you go. You're good. You can access your email and, click this if you want to watch a movie. There you go.
Grandmother.
Anyway, I think I'm done ranting for now. Just kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit because I want some of your opinions as well, about just all the stuff I've been talking about. Hopefully it's a nice little side podcast for you to put on. All right, over here, the usual reminder. Grab this shirt right here. If you work at Microsoft, can you wear this to work? I want to know. But this is true. You need to get one of these for all the different companies. Now, these are half price right now with the coupon code SHIRTLYNOT. Got all this stuff over here. So yeah, head on over here, grab yourself a shirt for half price. And then once you're finished with that, we got all kinds of stuff on sale. Half price on this mouse. All right, anyway, head over to epicpants.com. I'll see you in the comments.